Hello there and welcome to Firespitter's super lovely and awesome speed school. Have you been looking at a lot of speedruns lately and decided that you want to join in on the fun, but haven't quite figured out what you want to run yet? Or maybe you are an experienced runner who can't figure out what to run next. If so, this video is for you. A lot of videos and general advice on this topic gives you suggestions of games to speedrun, and while that might be helpful to some, it is very limiting how useful it is, as whether or not the information is useful for you depends on if your taste and the taste the creator of the video either assumes you have or have themselves matches yours or not. Which leads to that these videos and recommendations do not exactly help everyone, as what speed games anyone enjoys is a highly individual thing. And even after all of that, once you feel done with that game, what next? What I am going to do here instead is to break down a couple of barriers about what you might define as a viable speed game and teach you a short little game that I myself use to decide what games to run whenever I am in a pinch that you can quickly use yourself. Before we begin, this video does assume that you have a hunch of what speedrunning is and that you do have some games that you do enjoy playing. If you do not fulfill these criteria, the method explained in this video might not be as useful as it could be to you, but the first part should still be of use. With that said, let us begin today's lesson. To many people, picking a speed game can be a long process, and is for many even the point where their speedrunning career ends, as they can't figure out what game they want to run. The reason for this is either that a person can't figure out a single game they want to run, or they have so many games they want to run that they can't decide on one. Before I go through the method I use, I should debunk the things that keeps these problems floating to open up your mind to what games you can speedrun. Each and every game with any form of non-PvP content can be speedrun. And just because you speedrun a game, you do not need to keep running it forever. You do not need to start out running a recognized speed game, nor do you need to stick with the game forever. It is fine to pick out a bad speed game to start out with. The only thing that is important right now is that you enjoy the time you spend running it and that you actually start running. With that said, we are going to delve into the method. I will go through it step by step, and feel free to stop the video if you want to as we go through each step, or watch it all the way to the end before you use the method yourself. Either way it works out, as the goal is that you shall be able to do this on your own in the future if you find yourself stuck in this situation again. For the first step, you are going to write down each and every game you can come up with that you could conceivably want to speedrun. Remember what I said earlier, any game can be run, and you do not need to run the game forever, so do not judge the games too heavily at this step, and just write them down, preferably on individual pieces of paper or on a document you can easily copy and paste from. This is not a step where you judge the game, let your mind wander. The next step is very optional, but one I personally love to do myself, but it can easily be skipped. And that is that I start off by putting the notes of each game in a hat or something and pull them out one by one. Each time I look at a game I pull out of the hat, I think about how it would feel to speedrun it. And maybe even try to see if I can find any information about what the game will actually be like to run. Do not worry too much about digging deeper though. I would say do not spend more than 50 minutes per game. Just make sure that it's not too different to run the game than you imagine it to be if you want to do so. Then you either put the note into one of two piles. One pile of games you can see yourself running, and one pile you have a hard time seeing yourself running. Or if you're really lucky and during your time thinking about running it, figured out this is the game you really want to run. Start running it! Congratulations! You found a game you want to run, which was the goal of this video. If you go through this step, which you most likely will, without finding any game to run, or decide to skip it entirely, put all notes remaining into another randomizer and pull them out two at a time. Then you look at both of these and think about which one of these you would rather speedrun, and put the one you want speedrun into a new pile and throw away the other. and do this until the hat or randomizer is empty. Repeat this until you have either decided a game or only one game remains, and congratulations! You do now have a game you can speedrun, plus a method you can use yourself in the future to use future games to speedrun as well, in case nothing pops to mind. To round this up, I am going to give you a very simple example of what this process can look like. Here in front of me, I have picked 4 games through stage 1. I am not going to show the stage 1 because stage 1 for me would take forever because I do know so many games I like to play. But let's move on. I have picked 4 games I might want to run. Bleed 2, Hello Kitty Cruisers, Atelier Rona DX, and Your Scrap. Well, ignore the fact that I have already ran all of these. This is just a hypothetical example I am putting up right here because it's gonna be very easy for me to talk about what I would love and not love about speedrunning games I already beat. You get my point. I know start step 2 and pull out Hello Kitty Cruisers out of the hat. I do quite immediately figure out that this game is pretty horrible. And while bad games have their charm, I am not in the mood for that as of now, so I immediately reject it. You do know this is a hypothetical example, by the way, by me rejecting a game because it's a horrible game. I would never do this because I do love horrible games, but for this example we do it. Then I pull out Atelier Rona DX and look at the game. There is a lot of menuing going on, which I am not always a fan of, but I really love the looks of the game, and during my casual playthrough I had a really good time. So I put it in the pile of games I want to run. After that I pull out Bleed 2, which is a very action-packed and fast-paced game. It seems like a really solid game to run, so I put it into the pile of games I want to run. And lastly, I look at Yoshi's Crafted World and decide that while the game looks a little bit slow, the art style is extremely cute, and I do love cute stuff. There is nothing in this world I love more than cute stuff. And the techniques in the game looks pretty fun to perform. I decide to put it in the might run pile. After this, I move on to the final stage. And the 2 first games I pick up are Atelier Rona DX and Yoshi's Crafted World. I start to think more about it, but the more I think about it, the heavy menuing Atelier Rona DX is really off-putting for me right now. So Yoshi's Crafted World wins out this round. Then I start the final pick between the 2 remaining games, Yoshi's Crafted World and Bleed 2. I look at both games and both of them have quite a lot of tech going on, and the choice becomes really close, so I go in and look at speedrun.com to look at the runs and see that Yoshi's Crafted World has relatively long categories, with very few runs in any category being less than 2 hours long. While a beginner's run of Bleed 2 takes barely more than 30 minutes, and with categories that takes less than 10 minutes. And hypothetically speaking here, I do not feel like running a long game from a hypothetical perspective here. So I end up picking Bleed 2, and then I start running it. In the future, I might fall out of favor with the game though. But then I both have some backup games from earlier, so I could quite easily jump into Yoshi's Crafted World, as I do know since before it's a game I did consider running. Or I could just redo this process again with new games that have gotten my interest since then. I really hope that today's lesson was useful to you all. Please feel free to tell me in the comment section below what you think about this small exercise. I am also extremely curious to know what games you all end up running after playing this little game, so please feel free to also post that in the comment section below. And if you found this video useful, feel free to leave a little like and subscribe to my channel for more gaming and speedrunning related content in the future. If you want to talk to me live or watch some live running, I stream Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays and Sunday evenings. Until next time, plenty of hugs and stay cute everyone.